doesn't make sense. I think it's gonna go south. I get home, we've got the fucking Afrobeats Wizkid pumping in the house. Yeah, Chopper's there dancing around, frying oil in a fucking pot. What the hell? There's a fucking spray that you can spray to calculate the thing. I've told you this a million times. You come in the house, you fucking play Wizkid like we're in a fucking village. What type of crap is that? When we first started dating, right? We used to. I remember I took her to this restaurant in Peckham. It's called Lolak or Lolake. There's that. When we go there, we're getting down. It's kind of like a real bull. Look, let me not say bullshit, but kind of, you get down, use your hands and all that stuff.
When last did you fuck me?
Do you really want to go there?
Please, no, answer the question. Do you remember? Because I don't.
I'll tell you.
How can I be in the same house touching myself? I feel bad. I feel like I let him down in some way. I don't understand why he didn't feel comfortable enough to speak to me about it.
You haven't been tracking your intake. Therefore,
you can't carry me during sex.
Forget about the sex.
Because you've gotten bigger.
You said fat and you said gain weight. Let's stick to that topic.
You brought up a situation that happened when we met, not even when we started dating. When we met.
Do you really want to do this?
I'm doing it. What are you talking about?
I definitely need an apology from Choma. She hasn't been home. She's not responding to the messages, not responding to the calls, but she's posting on social media.
I was sleeping with my ex when I met Paul. When we started dating, that situation had been locked off.
You know, there's those slimy type of guys. You know those guys, those boys. If you know, you know. And he's one of those guys. Whether he sees this or not, he knows that we know who he is. And a person like that, to be fair, you need to keep them away from your partner.
I won't sleep with him. So if that's your worry, leave it. It's fine. We're not going to do that. Do you trust Paul when he's out? I do trust Paul when he's out. Yes.
Choma, you need healing.
I need healing. From who? From your sister?
From yourself.
No, let me tell you something. I will heal perfectly if you stop her from coming to the house. Boy.
Under 5 minutes. So watching that back, how does that even feel for you right now?
Was I really going through that? Man, it seems quite long ago actually. It seems far back. It's very sad looking at it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would like to say I loved him, or I was actually loved him, but looking back, I don't think the feeling was just okay.
Well, in a way, you pretty much answered my next question, but let me ask, for the sake of asking, are you all still together?
No.
You seem happy about that, but we'll get into that. So, you've gone from having that roller coaster, but to be fair, at the end of it, we seemed to be close again. Seemed as though there was some sort of healing taking place. So our team have done their research and we realised that you're not following Paul on any socials. Can you go into that? Have you been blocked?
I blocked Paul, but I would like to say that's part of my healing process. You know, I don't want to see anything he's got going on. I don't want him to see anything I've got going on. I understand he calls me all the time. I understand he wants to reconcile, but for me, that situation is done. You know, I'm completely done with Paul. I want nothing to do with him or his family. So yeah, whether he decides to go on the internet and look at my page, that's up to him. But I personally don't want to see anything he's got going on.
We're not together, blocked him. Is it right to assume that your living arrangement has changed?
100%, yeah. I have to reach out.
And
it'd be nice to see if you can pay the rent now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you trying to say? Can you go into that a little bit
I'm
more?
trying to say I was doing 60-40. Best we could do is 50-50. So, I mean, now that I'm out of the picture, I'd like to see him maintain that standard of living.
So are you trying to say that Paul, the provider, did not provide?
No. Provider, I wasn't really a provider.
Okay, so but we saw the clients, everyone viewing the
You
clients.
saw clients?
You know, high value clients.
You saw them?
Okay, we didn't physically see them. Fair enough. So elaborate, please.
I'm not here to bash Paul. I'm done with that situation. But one thing I will say is that before I left, because I had already made up my mind to leave, I did stumble across some documents let's just say that Paul allegedly, respectfully, may or may not be in debt. He may be living a facade. He may not have the money that he claims he has. That's probably what makes him act the way he acts, you know what I mean? And quite honestly, I'd like to say I was definitely sold a dream. I'm not saying I went in for the money or I stayed because I thought, it was tucked away somewhere. But now we can clearly see that was all a lie.
Wow, it's shocking. Even to me, as somebody that enjoys watching the show, that's quite a revelation. So besides that, every woman has their breaking point. Seemed like you put up with a lot. What would you say was your breaking point?
I would like to talk on, the situation. Like, well, I'm an African woman. I understand a lot of African women fight for their relationships. I've seen my mum fight for it. I just understand that you stick through someone, even though we didn't take vows, through thick and thin. I understand that I was being neglected, but I thought because it wasn't how we started off that it was going to change, when obviously I was completely wrong. Do you know what I mean? Just seeing or understanding how much neglect I was actually going through, something I didn't actually have to put up with. The fact that he doesn't want to change, he couldn't change, the lies, the deceit, the manipulation. Yeah, clearly this bad girl needs to leave. You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
Fair enough. And you touch on anything live, deceit, and all of that. Sounds like a roller coaster, as I said before. You probably do remember what that felt like. But have you watched yourself back at all? Have you watched any of the episodes?
I have watched the episodes. It's definitely difficult to watch that, but I have watched them.
Okay. I hope you don't mind reliving it one more time with us. We're going to watch the emotional roller coaster that you were on with your relationship with Paul. Let's take a look.
I don't know what relationship this girl wants to have with her brother, whatever incest shit she has in her head or she dreams about. This is some bullshit. Like, I don't understand what your problem is. We're in therapy. Leave us alone. Go away. What the hell?
Sometimes things are said that are taken in the wrong way, but
Yes.
I can see that there's real value in you as a couple.
Please,
I thought you
I
said
think
that on
we're
camera.
making a yes to this. Can we leave now?
Yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Babes.
But
Babe.
at the time, Paul and I were on the date, and we suggested that we would, so that he knows my stance with this thing. Sorry. It's okay. Take your time. This is the last leg for me. And if this doesn't work out, then I'm not going to stay in this relationship. Like, we are done. I want you to promise me that if we was to get in that situation again, whether we're married, whether we're together or on a break, whatever, that you're going to man up and take care of your responsibilities. That's what I want you to promise me, not whether where we take our next relationship, because tomorrow I could get pregnant. Amen. But I could get pregnant tomorrow. I want you to man up. I want you to be an active dad. That's what I want. Can you promise me that? That's what I want to hear now.
I promise you that I'll be an active dad without six.
It's made me like that. It's made me a little bit emotional. I think that's the me I never want to be again. That's the me I don't ever want to see. It's just so sad. I think I've just been so stupid, That's sad.
I'm the therapist, but as women, we tend to beat ourselves up about it. But you've left now, you're here right now. You spoke about your abortion during the therapy session with Denise and Paul. We're here now. Is that something you would want to talk about? with us?
It's not something I want to touch on. I think I've expressed myself. The intention is not even to speak to the public, it was to speak to Paul. I'm done with that. I don't want to talk about it.
So, another topic that was brought up a lot throughout that and throughout the episodes is a third party in the relationship, if you will, and that was Paul's sister. So, there was a conversation that seemed to take place. Can you just give us some insight? What was that conversation about?
I think she's bored. I think Tola's just bored. That's what I've concluded.
Bored.
Yeah, it's boredom, isn't it? You're popping up at your brother's therapy session. That's boredom. I don't know whether he invited her. She said, she's coming to support. I have siblings. I have a mum. I have a dad. I have cousins. I have friends. I have so many people that could be sitting behind us, but nobody came. Do you know what I mean? So that says a lot about her. And then you ended up arguing with me. So you're now bringing negative energy. Yeah, that to me, that was. Maybe if the cameras weren't around, I could have reacted differently because it's just such a disrespect, So
You composed yourself well, as you do.
yeah, it was difficult, but I had to. Yeah.
Okay. And Denise also spoke about an exercise that perhaps you and Paul should practice towards his sister. Some sort of sit down, and he would mediate or just facilitate. Did that ever take place?
Surprisingly, yes. Paul did bring us together. We did have a talk, but I would say it didn't. It was no point. There was no point of having that conversation because it didn't end how I wanted it to end. It didn't yield results like I wanted. We ended up speaking. Nothing came of it. We actually got into an altercation where we nearly physically fought. Yeah, it got to a point where I said, "Listen, she's out or I'm out." Paul got her out, but for me, it's why am I being disrespected in my home? What gives her the right? Who is she? It's something I've been putting up with, but you just have to understand why she feels so entitled to her brother.
Okay, that's very true.
Yeah.
And as a woman, as I always say, like, I understand where you're coming from. Just to get more perspectives, we did actually reach out to friends and family of the couples, and we've spoken to Tola, and we just wanted to get her perspective because Paul's not here, of course. She was actually happy and wanted a telephone call with us and yourself
To discuss.
the relationship, her part in it, and hopefully speak to you, but she's going to speak to me first. Is that okay?
I'm a bit confused. What does she want to speak to me about? The relationship between me and her brother, or me and her?
Clearly, what you said, you weren't happy with the way things went. She seemed as though she wasn't happy with the way things went as well. So this is the perfect
I
opportunity.
no longer care. I no longer care. I'm a bit confused. I don't understand what closure is. Unless I'm getting an apology, we have no reason to speak.
She said that she comes in peace
And to apologise.
and to apologise. She did say that.
And I'm happy.
So you're happy for us to speak to her.
Yeah, sure.
Going to speak to Tola, Paul's sister. Hi Tola, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. How have you been watching the show and watching your brother and Shoma going through everything that they did?
Well, it's expected, to be honest. I've known all of the stuff that's been going on anyway, so it's not much of a surprise to me.
Okay.
But yes, I just wanted to just speak to Shoma to see if I can get through to her.
Okay. And you wanted to apologise. That's what you told our team. Is that right?
Well, if she can understand where I'm coming from and we can actually have a decent conversation, then yeah, maybe I'm more than happy to just apologize for the way I've come across.
Well, this is a good start. So, I have a few questions for you, Tola. I hope you're okay to answer them. The first one is, why do you think that your relationship with your brother is so intense?
Okay, so me and Paul, he's my little brother, right?
Okay.
And You know, I feel like I have a lot of responsibility for him, and
Jesus.
and it's kind of, he feels the same way about me. You know, so I'm a little bit protective over him, and we're super super close. Like we do a lot together. We talk to each other a lot about so many things. You know, so it's not strange that we will talk about his relationship. You know.
Okay. So it's the closeness that makes you so protective. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, there was a few comments made earlier about Chioma having been on Backchat and your perception of her, and you fed that through to Paul. Paul did bring it up in the sessions, so can you explain that to us?
I mean, the whole, like, literally, the whole world watched the show, you know, you could see how Chioma, like, you could get an idea of the kind of person Chioma is, you know, it wasn't...
Yeah, a good woman.
So, you know, like, there's not much to say about that. I'm sure everybody feels the same way I feel about her.
Okay. So how do you feel about Chioma at this very moment?
I just feel like she's super disrespectful, and she is a bad example of, like, a woman, should I say, like, because, you know, she I don't know, the way she just comes across is like she's just so aggressive.
Tola, sorry to cut you, apologies to cut you. As you know, Chioma is here, and this feels like more of a personal conversation. I know we're on the platform, but I think it's best that you speak to Chioma directly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to pass the phone over to her.
Hi, Tola.
Hi, Chioma. You alright?
I'm fine. You called in to...
Yeah, so I called in because I feel like I've tried to have a conversation with you several times, and it just doesn't work. So
You've tried to have a conversation with me about what exactly?
About just our relationship, just me and you, as someone that Paul cares about.
You're his sister. I was his girlfriend. I don't understand. We're not in the same boat. Does that make sense? You're a relative. I'm his girlfriend. Like,
okay, you're his girlfriend, that's fine, but remember, I was here first. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is my whole brother.
No.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're coming into the family, I have a responsibility as much as anybody else, any other member of my family, to make sure that whoever is coming in is worthy of coming into our family.
Wow.
Do you understand that?
Now, let me let you know something. I don't really know how you wanted us to work, but you only ever spoke to me about your children. Do you understand that? You only ever dropped your kids over to my house. Those were the only conversations we had. And anytime you wanted to speak to me about how I dressed, it was very negative. So what exactly are you talking about?
Okay, well, for one, it's like I do try to have different types of conversations with you, not just about the kids. However,
when, Tola? That's what I'm asking you. When did you...
I'm not about to be on this phone and tell you every single moment, but I know I have tried. Do you understand that? Like, I have tried, but you're just so, like, defensive, aggressive. Like, I just quit while I'm ahead.